Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ben, and in this episode of the Smoking Hot Confessions BBQ podcast, we're going to be talking to a man who is one of Australia's leading barbecue competitors, who's now put his passion for barbecue into opening up Australia's first ever barbecue dedicated co-packing business. Hey family, I hope you're well wherever you are and you got that thin blue smoke rolling. This is episode 116 of the Smoking Hot Confessions BBQ podcast. You can probably hear I've got a bit of a flu. I'm okay. I did get COVID tested. It is not COVID. Everything is fine and normal and wonderful. Coming up in today's episode, we've got a great one lined up for you. We've got a gentleman who is a multiple Grand Championship winning pitmaster. He was half of the second ever Australasian BBQ Alliance champion winning team. He has since started Australia's first ever barbecue dedicated co-packing business. And if you haven't worked it out yet, we are talking to Scott Bothe from Bison BBQ. Now, before we get into it, I just got a couple of things that I do want to run by you. Just a couple of announcements. First of all, you may be aware that the Brisbane Barbecue Festival has been pushed back again because of the COVID regulations. It is not gone. It is still going to go ahead. It's just a matter of working out all the different paperwork things that have to go ahead for COVID regulations and getting all them lined up and getting it underway. But the Sunshine Coast Barbecue Festival is still going ahead at this stage on the original weekend of the first weekend in September. So do keep an eye open for that. I'll be there. It's going to be an awesome time out. And to keep up to date with all those sort of things, make sure you're watching the Barbecue and Beer Roadshow socials, as all those competitions are all run by the Barbecue and Beer Roadshow. So as I said tonight, we are talking to Scott Bothe from Stagg Co and from Bison BBQ. And in tonight's episode, we're going to be covering a whole bunch of stuff. Of course, we're going to be talking barbecue. We're going to find out what Scott likes to cook and some tips and different ideas for how he likes to do those things. And then, of course, we're going to get into Stagg Co. It's quite a big thing. It's quite a common term in America, this word co-packer. It's something that we're reasonably new to here in Australia. So we're going to find out all about Stagg Co, all the wonderful work that Scott's doing with different people around the country. And we're going to close out the interview with a lesson of Scott's choice, which happens to be tips for competing solo. So for those of you out there who are looking at getting into competition, or if you're already in competition and you're looking to go out solo and do some traveling around the country, it does free you up a bit more, but we'll talk more about that later on. We're going to get some tips and techniques for that. So without further ado, let's get stuck into this podcast.
This is the internationally awarded Smoking Hot Confessions BBQ podcast with your host, Ben Arnott. How long's it been since your last confession?
Alrighty, Scott, welcome to the confessional, my friend. How are you today?
Good, mate. Yourself?
Mate, as I said at the top of the show, I've got a flu. It's 10 days now. I was so worried. I actually went and got COVID tested. That was not a pleasant thing. But it is the responsible thing to do.
Exactly.
And if people
right.
are showing symptoms, they should go and do it. Just suck it up. It only takes a couple of minutes. But it is not COVID. I had the results back in less than 24 hours. And so it's just, I've got Lemsip here in the cup. I've got Vicks Vapor Drops over here, and the beer has been replaced with water for today. So, and I promise I'm going to try and do all my sniffling off camera, and I'll mute my microphone if I need to.
Yeah, that would suck. Well, at least you're up in sunny Queensland, though.
Well, yeah, that is the good thing. It is still, sort of 20 degrees outside. It's still quite warm and nice. So that is definitely an advantage. But let's get things started. So tell us, what was the last thing that you barbecued?
Lamb shanks, actually. I haven't done anything this weekend, but yeah, last weekend I barbecued some lamb shanks. I hadn't done it for a little while, testing out a new rub actually from Smoky Pastures guys that are launching this week. So I had to test it out in the barbecue, and it was great.
I've seen a couple of shots of their stuff coming out, so we'll probably talk about them a little bit later, because I know that you have a bit of a relationship there. But
Yep.
Tell us more about these lamb shanks. How do you like to go about doing them?
So I like to smoke them for a little bit. So probably 2 or 3 hours beforehand. I'll rub them in whatever rub really that you want to do. And underneath, I usually at home I use the Weber quite often. So I'll set it up indirectly and smoke them indirectly, and I'll put a pan underneath with all the vegetables, etc., underneath as well. With so, for example, the one I did on the weekend, some tinned tomatoes and the veggies, and then the drippings can go down into the ragu that it makes, and then I'll slowly cook it. I'll transfer them into the actual ragu itself and cover them up and continue cooking them until they're done.
Oh, wow. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. It's been the first time in a while. I was craving it the other day, so I thought I'd do them again.
Yeah. I did a few just a few weeks ago, but damn, they're getting expensive at the shops now.
They are, unfortunately. Yeah, they're a bit of a treat.
Yeah. It's funny because I remember when they were the things that the butcher would try and give away when you were there making an order for something else. It's like, so are you sure I can't give you any of these lamb shanks?
Oh, that's like a lot of the low and slow cuts, really. They used to be very cheap, but everyone's pushing the prices up now, so stop smoking.
Yeah. It kind of goes against the push of this show, though. So we won't try and encourage people to stop smoking meats and cooking barbecue. So you mentioned that you cook that on the Weber. Is that your personal barbecue of choice when you're cooking at home? Or do you?
Yeah, it is. It's probably it is the very first barbecue that I learned to smoke on, and still the one that I probably use the most as well. It's nice, quick to get up to temperature, especially when you've only got two. I've got a family. The eldest is 4, so he doesn't usually eat a lot of that type of stuff. So you're only usually cooking for 2 people on the barbecue. So the Weber is a really good one. The other one that I like to cook on, being a drum smoker, again, nice, quick, the hot and fast style on the drum. Really enjoy cooking on those two.
Yeah, drum smokers are certainly getting more and more popular. Is that one that you built yourself, or is it a prefab one?
No, I'm not that skilled, unfortunately. I'll keep to the cooking on that side of things. Yeah, I'm definitely not skilled in that area. No, it's just it's a locally made one. That got made up, and it stands the test of times. It's just keeps going, which is good. It's been left out, neglected a little bit, but still keeps going and still puts out some really, really good food. I love the versatility that you can do with them as well, from even things like pizzas and hanging things in there. So I've been doing some like curries that you hang them on the skewers. So smoke them first, so some tandoori style, and then putting a pizza stone down low as well. And so you can do a lot of things with them.
Wow, that sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get my head around the physicality of lowering a pizza stone right like down inside the drum there. You'd have to be sort of
no, it's not too bad. So it's just on the lowest rack that you can actually go and put your pizza stone down there at the start and put your pizza on once the stone's up nice and hot.
Oh, okay. So it's just the standard lower rack. You're not putting in like another rack right down just above the coals.
No, standard low.
Okay.
Get it nice and hot.
I was just kind of picturing you sort of bent in halfway down inside the drum there, trying to get the pizzas in.
Not quite that far.
Awesome. So cooking like that with the sort of the different tandooris and things that you were saying there, are they some of your favorite things to cook?
Yeah, it would be. I don't cook a lot of the American style stuff at home. I'll save that for the practice and the barbecue comp side of things. I guess you're cooking it all the time. When barbecue comps are actually going. Try to cook a lot of different things, different styles and cuisines from around the world. I'm not a big fan of sweet as well, so I cook a lot of the savoury style. So if I'm doing pork ribs, I'll always go a more savoury style and not those sweet sauces for home cooking.
So do you go so far then as doing like a dry rub?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I'll put the dry rub on, but I can usually do both as well. So if you go sort of like an Asian style, do a wet rub, or if you can go still the American style, but just do a dry rub on it instead, less sugar.
Oh, right, interesting. Yeah. I guess like if I really think about it, when I do the foil stage, I do dump a whole lot of brown sugar in there.
Yep.
Yeah, so
unsauced dry ribs is my go-to at the moment.
Interesting. Yeah.
Straight up.
What's that? That's Kansas style, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, very much so.
Interesting. Yeah, there's quite a bit of a move away from processed sugar, and there's so much processed sugar in barbecue. So that's interesting to hear you say that. Is that a health choice that you're making there, or is that just
No, not really. To be honest, I'm not a big sweet tooth altogether. I don't usually eat a lot of sweet. Again, that savoury person. I'll always go for the chips instead of the lollies or the sweets. Second helping of mains instead of the desserts afterwards, that type of stuff. So, yeah, I'm not a big sweet tooth. That's probably why.
Fair enough. Now, we did mention at the top of the episode that you are half of the second ABA championship winning team. That was Big Smoke Barbecue.
Yep.
Tell us a bit about your time there.
Yeah, so 2016 we first started competing. That was the year Suck Knuckle Smokers won that year, and we learnt a lot. Didn't do so well start of the year. I reckon we would have done 6 or 7 comps that year and started off pretty poor and slowly sort of worked our way up by the end of it. Then 2017, we started really sort of ramping it up and doing a lot more barbecue comps. So we would have done probably 12 that year. So we did quite a few. And that was the year that we won. So 2017, Australian champions. Back on we were the last ones on the old leaderboard system with the points, the way they scored the points. It came down to the very last competition for the year as well. And they kept it, which was the Invitational. They kept it a secret there. It was probably a week or so afterwards, and then did the live stream to see who won that one. We were lucky enough to come up with the win. And then went on again 2018 to compete. Went over to the American Royal, which was an amazing experience over there. Just opens your eyes to what barbecue is. Just so different over there than what it is over here. Learned a lot as well while we're over there. And then this year we've decided to go our own ways, and Bison BBQ was created.
Yeah, tell us more about Bison.
So Pete's, there's basically myself and Pete that are on the team. We've competed in one competition before all this crazy COVID stuff happened, but we actually GC'd the first comp as well, which is...
Hey, there you go.
So we're 1 for 1, so if we never have to compete again, we can say we're, 100% average, which is amazing.
Undefeated.
Undefeated, undisputed champions. So one comp, the comp down there in Geelong, it was literally just before. We actually rocked up. We were supposed to have the meat stock in Melbourne, and we rocked up, set up, and that night after we set up was the day that it all happened, the lockdown. So we had to pack up and the next morning and away you go, unfortunately. So it's all on hold at the moment, but really, really looking forward to getting back into it.
I think I need to get Sheepy in here on the show and find out if we're going to get a sanctioned ABA competition down at his paddock down there.
Well, the way it's going at the moment, I don't think it's going to be for a while.
No. I guess we should probably just address that a little bit. How is the whole situation down? Because you're in Melbourne. How are things down there? It's difficult. After today with the extra lockdowns, we're supposed to be only going within 5 kilometres of the house. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, so that just come out today. So there's stage 4 got released today. So it's interesting. So haven't had a day of that one yet, but from what we've been going through so far, it hasn't been so bad. I've been working from home a lot. So the good part about it is you spend a lot more time with the family. To be honest, I haven't been doing a lot of cooking over the last little bit, which is good to have a little bit of a break. And then once things get back into it, just before comps kick in, then we'll get sort of back into it again. Yeah,
sounds good. I didn't realise that you'd been sort of elevated to step 4 there. 5 kilometres.
5 kilometres of your house, and tomorrow they're going to announce the what workplaces will be closing and stuff like that as well. So there's going to be extra stuff going on.
Wow. Wow. We were actually this close to being back to life as normal up here in Queensland. Yep. And then we've had a bit of a setback with some naughty girls who went down to Melbourne to party and have brought it back with them and lied on their way back in across the border and spread it around. And so we're looking like we're going to be heading back towards that sort of lockdown sort of way as well. Mate, it's a damn shame.
It is.
We were so close.
I know. We're all thinking that we might actually get a comp or two at the end of the year for us Victorian. It might still happen in other states, but for us Victorians, I can't see it happening, unfortunately.
No, me neither. I mean, it's August now, and it's kicked off in March. So there's 5 months. Yeah, add 5 months to now, and that's January next year. So
fingers crossed it's all over by the end of the year and we can start next season and have a full year of barbecue comps would be nice.
That would be good. It would be good to start seeing Bison BBQ get some runs up on the board there.
Yeah, that's it.
yeah. So tell me, what has been your proudest moment in barbecue?
Well, probably the one that takes the cake would be the 2017 championship, that win. So it's a bit of a come from behind win as well. From memory, well, sort of third or fourth on the leaderboard leading into that last comp, and we scored. We come third overall, but still the points got us across the line because we had such high scoring competition on that day. So it got us through, and we won by 1 point in the end of the championship.
Oh, wow.
Just got through, and obviously just being able to say that 2017 Australian champion was amazing. The other one, obviously, which was the best experience that I've had, was going over to America and competing over there, and just saying that we've been able to compete in the American Royal, and the people that you meet over there and the things that you learn from them over there as well. They're just more than happy to share absolutely everything they do. The neighbours that we had while we're there, it was incredible experience.
Yeah,
hopefully something we'll be able to do again one day.
Yeah. I've heard that it's quite the competition to go to for in inverted brackets networking, and
there's a lot of that.
Yeah,
we call it that.
I was speaking with an American friend who referred to it as networking 12 ounces at a time.
Yep. Yeah, it was very much that. Yeah, they love to party over there. They definitely love to party. And the majority of them just don't take it, like it's similar over here, but even more to extent over there. They don't take it too seriously. They're just there to have fun and hang out with their mates and have a laugh and just share the barbecue experience, which was good to see, really good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. So we all have some funny stories about our barbecue. What is one monumental stuff up that you've had on the grill?
The one that comes to mind was actually the GC that we won on Bison BBQ in Geelong. Almost not waking up to the cook
yep,
would have been probably the biggest one. And I remember the knock on the window. I was sleeping in the car at the time, and Pete's woken up and did the old knock on the window like he's supposed to be up, and it was the panic moment. Rip yourself out of bed. And where am I? There might have been a few too many frothies the night before that might have led to that. The alarm actually did go off, but I didn't hear it.
Oh, right.
So, yeah, that didn't help. But, yeah, that's probably the big one. Yeah, that would have been probably the biggest stuff up that I've had.
Yeah. Although I guess given that you cook on drums, then it probably wouldn't have mattered that much then, because the drums can do things a whole lot faster. Yeah,
correct. So also don't want to sleep in too long, I guess, as well. But yeah, so you're cooking a brisket sort of in 5 hours or so. So it's a much quicker cook. When we first started, we're definitely cooking that real low and slow style. But especially when you're cooking a lot of competitions, finding those little things that make things a lot easier and being able to take the less toll on you is much better. More drinking time too the night before.
Got a project you'd like to work on with the SHC team? Shoot Ben an email on ben@smokinghotconfessions.com and let's have a conversation.
Alrighty, so let's get into Stag Co now. Tell us about that. I know that you're doing some great work with a lot of people from around the country. So let's kick things off. Tell us what Stag Co is and when it got started.
Yeah, sure. So 2017, we actually started under Kirby and Spence. So that's the pickle brand that we actually started with.
Oh, right.
And the main reason we started that, so when Big Smoke Barbecue, we're also doing catering at the time. We're getting a lot of our catering pickles in big catering buckets from someone else and paying exorbitant amounts of money for it. And I fancy doing sort of new things, so I decided to make the own pickles, and it sort of went from there, and then decided to make our own label. So that Kirby and Spence was born out of that. Then started to dabble into a little bit of rubs under the same brand. And then from there, last year, we moved on into Stag Co as an overarching brand that could make other people's rubs for them. So we got Butcher's Axe BBQ on board last July, so just over 12 months ago. It was our first partnership that we had, and a bit test the waters, and haven't looked back since. It's just gone from strength to strength and growing. We're outgrowing where we are currently and looking to move into a bigger place as well.
Wow,
so,
that's
well.
fast.
Yeah, it is. Something that just sort of started as a bit of a hobby, and it's just grown overnight. So you've been making rubs all day today, just trying to keep up with the demand at the moment. So it's been great.
That's incredible, mate. That's so good. So for those that are not familiar, give us a bit of a rundown about what a co-packer is.
So basically we're taking other people's recipes and doing the mix for them, so the actual spices, etc., for them, and jarring it all up. So from labels to boxing, so they've got a ready package ready to sell out into the marketplace. So everything, from your barcodes to your labeling laws and all that type of stuff. So it takes sort of the hassle out for people, the day-to-day jobs. That's quite easy then for someone to come in. We know exactly what to do and the steps that it takes to take it from an idea to finished goods, and also in 100-odd shops around the country as well. So we've got those leads to get products into stores as well.
Oh, right. So you're not just doing the manufacturing, you've also got the distribution network as well.
Yeah, so we're dabbling in that as well at the moment. That's probably the newest part of it and a big learning curve, but getting through it. And that's growing a lot as well at the same time, which is great.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm going to loop back to that just a bit later on.
Yep.
So you mentioned before about the labeling. I've heard that that quite often the hardest part is getting those little Australian legally approved nutrition breakdown things. Like what sort of process is involved in that? Is it as hard as what people say it is, or is there
it's probably a big scary thing at start. I remember at the start for us, we were exactly the same, but it really isn't. There's a lot of calculators actually that you can go online and actually find the calculators to put in your product codes. And a lot of obviously when you're buying your raw ingredients, they've got their own nutritional panels themselves to mix them all together to create one. So it does sound scary, but it actually isn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you don't have to send it off to a food scientist to break it down and get a computer printout and all that?
No, you don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was what I had been led to believe, but I'm relieved to hear that's not the case.
No, that's it.
Because it kind of sounds like that would be a nightmare.
Yeah, exactly.
All righty. So you mentioned Butcher's Axe before.
Yeah.
What sort of work have you been doing with them?
Yeah, so they started last July with Hunter, their first rub, and we really wanted to get someone on board to start this process with other people, so we could start co-packing for people. So got them on board, and I remember at the start, because our minimum batch size is 200 kilos, and so there was a bit of a hesitant push from them, is like, what happens if we don't sell it? How much is it going to cost us? All that type of stuff. And so the first batch of Hunter took about 6 months to sell, and now they're turning over every 4 weeks. They're turning over a 200 kilo batch. It's like how big it's growing on their rubs. It's just going absolutely insane for them. But now looking back at it with them, it's actually quite funny thinking about how hesitant we were about sort of moving into that space just because of the large volumes, but they're killing it at the moment.
Yeah, that's awesome. So is that every 4 weeks just in Hunter, or is that across there?
No, just Hunter. Yeah, it's going.
Wow.
So yeah, big things coming from them as well, which I can't say too much, but there's lots more to come this year as well from them. But they're busy behind the scenes, creating recipes and etc. to get a few more things up and running. Yeah.
Certainly looking forward to seeing some of that. How many publicly available rubs are they up to now? Is it 3?
Yes, 3. 3, that's right. Yep.
There's Hunter, Bullseye,
and Big Bark as well. The
Big
charcoal.
Bark, that was it. Yeah. I remember the highly controversial charcoal rub. Yeah.
Yes, that's it.
I just couldn't remember the name.
Yep.
So they're not the only ones that you've been working with. You've been doing a lot of work with a lot of people from around the country. Who else have you been working with?
So we've got Badass BBQ as well, which was our second team to come on board. So they were getting their rubs done through someone else beforehand, and then started getting their stuff done through us back end of last year. And then Smoky Pastures, which have recently come on board this year as well, out of South Australia. So we've got a few more coming on board. So we're Suck Knuckle Smokers as well. So we'll have the 2016, 2017, 18 champions, which will be, which is pretty cool to say that we've got that under the arsenal. With plenty more in the works as well, lots of inquiries and working through lots of recipes with people at the moment. So keeping us really busy.
Yeah, right. That's awesome. That's quite a stable of big names there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. No, there's hopefully can add on a couple others and get every single year would be nice.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm just trying to think of who the other ABA championship winners are.
What else have we got? There's only the one other, the proper one for the proper championship. There's only one other. Can't remember who it is now. Beard and Barbecue. Sorry, that's who it is.
Oh, that's of course, of course. Yeah. Yep. Sorry, apologies, Tony.
And then probably the controversial 2021 with whatever happens this year.
Well, so far there's only one guy who's managed to get to 3 comps. He's number one on the ladder, and then everyone else is underneath him is unranked. Yeah,
that's it. Well, Bison BBQ, they're undefeated, so maybe they could give it to us. There's actually 2 of us though, so
yeah. Could be interesting. Yeah. Now we touched on distribution there earlier. So, what sort of network are we talking here? Is it a national network? Is it an international network? How does it all sort of come together?
We send out through couriers around Australia, so we're in all states. We're in roughly 100 odd butcher shops, barbecue stores, that type of stuff around Australia. We've recently broken the New Zealand market as well, so sending stuff over to Barbecue Boy over there. So he's getting quite a bit of stuff going over there at the moment, which is good, and selling through lots of the competitions are kicking back on as well too. So we'll probably see a lot more volume of that stuff going through. And we're just working on 2 other countries at the moment, obviously being the US and the UK is the other one that we're working on at the moment. So it's a little bit more challenging with the distance and costs, etc. But watch this space for those 2, which would be great.
Yeah, getting into the US would be a dream because the market is just so big.
It is.
I'm surprised to hear you say though that you're heading to the UK. I wouldn't have thought that the UK would have been quite like such a large market. I would have thought that we would have been a bigger market than them.
Yeah, I think, it's hard to know. I think we are, but they don't have a lot of stuff other than the American stuff coming over, and they really look at, from what we've been speaking to them about, they look to Australia where they want to be in the future from a barbecue competition and I guess what the celebrities that some of the Australian teams have as well, that type of stuff. They're really striving to get to that, to where we are now. So I think that's why they really want to get some of those rubs and stuff over there as well. So they really, really look up to us.
That's quite interesting because we're sort of keeping our eyes firmly on America and we're sort of heading in that direction. And then it's kind of odd to hear that another country is now looking at us and saying, hey, we want our barbecue scene to be like theirs.
Yeah. I guess at the end of the day, America's on a different level to everyone, whereas Australia is something that you can quite easily achieve. So striving to get to where we are first, I guess, is probably a stepping stone.
Yeah, well put. Yeah, mate, that's super exciting about all the international sort of different options there. What is it like when it comes to things like because I know that importing food products into Australia is quite difficult. What sort of because it's dried herbs and spices and things like that, is it different to other types of foods, or is it equally hard to ship it out to, say, America?
It depends on the ingredients as well. So certain ingredients are banned in certain countries. So there are some of the rubs that can't go to overseas, but working with the ones that can. So they're usually the ones that can spread disease and things like that within their own agriculture is where they look for it. But there is, certain ones. We're not, we're across New Zealand side of things, but we're still working through, the other ones at the moment.
Wow. So I'm really surprised to hear that crops can get diseases from dried herbs and spices.
Yeah, I don't know how easy it is, especially from, I guess, like an Australia point of view, but I guess from some of the other countries, when they're not necessarily bagging it up correctly and can have bugs and things like that in there as well, I guess. But yeah.
Okay. So it's probably more to do with contaminants rather than the actual herbs and spices themselves.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. We don't want to bring the cane beetle over by mistake or anything like that, or because we all know where that goes. So for people that are out there listening and they've got all these ideas for these great different recipes that they want to do, what advice would you have for them for getting their recipe to a point where it's ready to start talking to someone like yourself?
Yeah, it's a good point. A lot of testing, and I guess not knowing what the rub is actually for as well. So, for example, if you're wanting to go down the sweetness, the heat path, your savoury path, because there's quite a few rubs out there that can be a bit of a mix mash between sort of all of it and not really have something that's a standout, I guess. So really knowing at the start of what you want to achieve out of it and what the protein's for and et cetera would be a really good start. And then, there's a lot of spice groceries out there. So go and grab all your different spices. They've probably got a lot of stuff that you haven't heard of before. So experimenting with all the bits and pieces, things from colours as well. So you get lots of different colours from different spices to make your rubs look a different way. And then, testing and going back and adding a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that. And then submitting it where we go.
So just practice.
Yeah, definitely. And the guys, before they come to us, they do a lot of work behind the scenes. I'm glad that I don't have to do it because there's a lot of time and hours spent in cooking when you think about how long it takes to cook your barbecue as well with a lot of these rubs going on. There's a lot of time, money spent just on, testing these things out.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're talking about like a brisket rub, you got to mix up 3 different versions of the recipe. There's 3 briskets. That's $400. Yeah. And 12 hours per brisket sort of thing. Like it certainly adds a lot to the development stage. Now, do you are you moving into sauces as well?
Yeah, something we're looking at. So something that we can't do ourselves currently, but we are looking at other co-packers. So later this year, we're looking at doing our own branded sauce. And then getting into the space where other people can actually come through us to help them through the process as well. So that's we're looking at that at the back end of this year. It gets a bit so we've had some issues with our pickles and things like that as well with glass as well. So we're working through some solutions on that because you get a lot of breakages sending them around the country. The couriers decide to use them as footballs sometimes. So we're working through things like that, especially with the sauces and where we can go through there. But yeah, definitely looking at opening up what we do.
Yeah, nice. Why is there a difference between co-packing sauces and co-packing rubs?
So basically the things to make it commercially viable in sauces as well, the equipment that you need and the big boilers, et cetera, that you need is a little bit different from the rub side of things. There's a lot more equipment, et cetera, needed than what you do with mixing rubs together, basically.
Oh, okay. So it's not necessarily like a regulatory type thing?
No. Yeah, just the equipment needed is the main thing that you need.
Okay, cool.
Make it commercially viable as well, because you need to make it in really big batches to make it commercially viable. Yeah. So that would be the big one.
Interesting. So you'd really have to have a good brand behind you before you even started trying to get into this.
Yeah, you definitely do, especially if you want to make it commercially viable. For your retailers, especially then if you've got someone co-packing it and distributing it for you. So there's a lot of people that are taking a cut of the margin there. So your pricing will go up and up and up once you're touching 3 or 4 hands. So yeah,
I don't doubt that at all. That's all really interesting stuff. Is there like an approval process that businesses who want to do business with you need to go through before, like do you taste the recipes and go, nah, this isn't like you need to keep working on this? Or
definitely do have our opinions on things, and sometimes I just sort of go by the ear, but and sometimes it's worked out well, and you hear what other people say about it, and you're like, yep, all right, I'm wrong. But at the end of the day, it is up to them on what it is. We make their suggestions, and it's more so if they come back and it's not quite right, and then because we've tasted a lot of them, give suggestions on adding like sugar, salt, pepper, whatever it might be, to get the flavour that they're actually after, or some of the even things like colours and things like that as well.
And how in depth is the fine tuning process? So one of the things that I've heard from speaking to people is that when they move to a co-packer, is even though the ingredients is technically the same ingredient, if it's from a different manufacturer and that sort of stuff. So how long does it typically take to fine tune that and then readjust the recipe?
Yeah, so definitely does. Even things like paprika and the colour of the paprika to the taste, the pepper, the grain sizes, and even the salts and things like that you use can have a different saltiness as such in them. So it does take a bit of time. What we'd like to do is actually get their recipes and send them out what we actually use, so then they can blend. So they've got a recipe in mind, but then they can mix it as well themselves before we start. Otherwise, the process could be going 6, 7, 8 times before we sort of land on something. So at least they can play around with the stuff that we actually use and get a little bit closer first, just so we're not going back and forward all the time.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So you send them out like a little sample box or something.
Yeah, here's the pepper, here's the salt, here's the paprika, etc. Use these for the mix because, things can get very different. Like there are paprika from different parts of the world and, that type of stuff as well. So, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, where do you stand on smoked salts? This is something I'm starting to see popping up more and more.
To be honest, I haven't used it before, and I've seen it popping up. I haven't heard too much about it in terms of what other people think about it or anything, so I can't really give too much of an opinion about it, but it has actually been something that's come up on our radar to have a look at for future, because by the sounds of it, it is doing all right. I mean, it's popping up everywhere, so people are using it, but definitely one I need to give a go. Yeah,
I'd imagine it'd be it'd have to be cold smoking.
Yeah, I would think so. Sending it through cold smoking chambers to get that smoke flavour in it without breaking down the salts, I guess.
Yeah, because I was running through it in my head and I was thinking if it was hot smoking, then you'd be heating the moisture in the air.
Yeah.
The salt crystals would be absorbing that and sort of melting, and then you'd have to just like a big sheet of salt, have to like break it up.
Yeah, I'm actually interested in. I know there's a local guy down here that does a bit as well down my way on the peninsula. I might have to head down and ask him a little bit more about it.
Yeah, could be a good idea. Yeah. Alrighty, so what's coming up in the future for Stag Co then? You've mentioned already that you talked about looking overseas and all that sort of stuff. When are we going to start seeing some Bison BBQ stuff on the shelves?
Yeah, I don't know. I think not many people know too much a little bit about Bison BBQ. This probably goes to your point before about it doesn't mean that you can't, but having that name beforehand definitely helps to make sure you got that pull through on the shelves. So I don't think you'll see Bison BBQ on the shelves in the near future. I'd love to have it there at some stage, but not in the near future. The moment we are concentrating on the co-packing side of things, other than our own brands in the rub space anyway. We've got some more stuff come from Smoky Pastures this week, which is a game rub. We've got Suck Knuckle Smokers, which have got their fry seasoning, which I'm really excited about that one. Tastes absolutely amazing. Loaded fries and your potato gems.
So good.
Some more stuff from Badass as well, which is in the works. And obviously Butcher's Axe as well. They've got a few things coming for the back end of this year. They're working with a couple of the barbecue restaurants as well. Won't name names at the moment, but working on a couple of theirs to get theirs up and running for doing it through the catering side of things as well, and then just selling their shakers at the same time.
That's a top idea. So you can go to like a food truck and get your brisket burger and go, wow, that's delicious. And then go, here, for an extra $10, you can have a shaker of the seasoning.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's sort of one we haven't really dabbled in yet, but that's sort of the next step.
You're listening to the internationally awarded Smoking Hot Confessions podcast with massive barbecue nerd Ben Arnott.
Alrighty, so to close out the interview, we're going to be discussing some solo competing tips and techniques here. So I understand that you have quite a lot of experience in terms of competing solo. How different is it when you are competing solo or in a team? Because I mean, I always compete in a team of 4, and I can't imagine just doing it on my own. I can't even fathom it.
Yeah, so it definitely takes a little bit of time to get used to. So we're competing quite a bit, as I was saying before, the 10, 12 sort of times a year. And quite often there would be weekends back-to-back in different parts of Australia where one of us would fly to one comp and the other one would fly to the other, or the other one can't make it because we're always a team of 2. So, I mean, we already had the upper hand, I guess, from a team of 2, but we were always over-prepared. So from things like all your sauces were already in labelled jars ready to go, all your rubs, etc., are all labelled ready to go. And the big one as well was around your trimming of your meat. I know, and it's a bit of fun doing it on site, but and we still do that a little bit now, but being able to trim your meat, cryovac it back up. So when you get there, you don't have to worry about anything like that. You can worry about your passing, especially if you think about competing by yourself, you still got to do passing boxes as well. So, so you're just trying to take out a lot of the work just so you can sort of focus. Because we'd done so many and we're both doing all of the comps, each protein, we had it all written down, what we needed to do. So you just follow your steps and away you go, really.
So you basically just like doing exactly the same thing step by step. That
repetition. So we didn't change a lot from comp to comp. It was always the same thing, probably for close to 2 years. It wasn't a lot of change. It was a minor tweaking. I cooked on similar barbecues for a couple of years there too. So there wasn't a lot of change. So just keeping that consistently, doing the same thing over and over, I think really helps. Once you start changing things, changing your barbecues, drastically changing your rubs and sauces and even cooking times, etc. Then you've got a lot more error in there instead of honing in sort of one skill.
Okay, I see. You mentioned having everything pre-bottled and pre-mixed and all that sort of stuff before. Yeah. When it comes to things like layering rubs, do you like mix up a bottle of the 3 different rubs that you're going to put on and shake them up and then put them on once, or do you still put them on in the 3 separate layers?
Still putting on those 3 separate layers. To be honest, I don't know if it would do much other than could do a couple of things with different colours, but other than that, I don't know. You probably could do that quite easily, but I guess it's just that habit by having your 2 or 3 different rubs and putting them on. And having your different layer. It's always this one first, that one next. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious about that, but yeah, you're right. It would affect things like colouring and the order that things hit the palate and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. Also, FIFO, you're talking about flying around the country and doing different competitions. How hard is that to do when you're not travelling with your own stuff?
Yeah. It's actually, I think from memory, we actually won more comps on other people's stuff than what we did on our own stuff. So my family are up in Gold Coast, so we're lucky enough. My dad used to follow us around in his motorhome and would borrow people's gear and then would have a place to sleep. It was actually more luxury when we went up there than what it was competing down here. Had a nice warm bed to sleep in, TV and etc. So, it was quite easy for us to do those ones. And then I think the catering helped us a lot as well because we were borrowing different pits that we'd cooked on before for catering, etc. So it was quite similar. We had a big breadth of what we cooked on before, which definitely helps.
Right, so you kind of knew how all these different types of barbecues were going to...
so we use it quite often would be the barbecue mafia offset we'd be using that they use for the catering, so we used that quite a bit. We went up there, got us quite a few brisket trophies on that, which was nice when we were travelling up there. I'm trying to think what else we had. So there's some GMGs as well when we went up there as well, some of the pellets. So we cooked on quite a few different things, drums, GMGs, offsets, which we won the 2017 on the offset, just the offset on the Manhorn, yeah.
Interesting, yeah. Was that the bone collector, the mafia trailer that you're talking about?
Yeah, it was the Bone Collectors. I'm trying to think. It wasn't the Bone Collector. That was the really big one. It was their smaller one, which they first started off with. Yeah, but it wasn't it could be the Bone Collector. Could be.
Yeah, it's cool. I love that thing. It's sexy as.
Oh, it's so easy to cook on. I love that thing. If I could, I'd buy it tomorrow. It's so easy to cook on.
Yeah, it's a beautiful bit of gear. So, what is the longest distance then that you've travelled for a barbecue competition?
It probably would have been Kingaroy. So flying from here to my parents' house up in Brizzy, Dad picking us up in the motorhome, and then driving from there to Kingaroy, which from memory is 3 or bit hours north of Brisbane. So that's probably the furthest I've ever done. And then, so that was like on a Friday, go set up Saturday morning, barbecue comp, and then Sunday night, drive straight back to the airport and fly home and back to work again the next day. So it does take it out of you.
Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah. And of course, it does help when you've got sort of family and all that around. Have you ever gone to like say, I don't know, Perth or somewhere where you don't know anybody, where you've had to sort of really put it out into the community for assistance?
The one I did solo, Bangalore, was like that. Going into Bangalore, not really. I knew a few of the barbecue teams and things like that, but trying to pick up bits of gear from like 5 different teams. So you got a table over here, you got a Canberra over there, marquee. It was, a bit of a nightmare. There was a couple of times actually as well, the Brisbane Barbecue Festival once as well. And we literally got a 3x3 marquee, one little table, no Canberra, a little esky, and you're just like, how are we going to do this? It's just little things. Our luggage got lost. That's the same one. Our luggage got lost and didn't think we were going to have any knives or, temperature gauges that we do take, or even rubs and sauces. We thought that was all gone, but we ended up getting that back, which was good. So, yeah.
Oh, lucky just in time.
Has it challenges over the time?
I'll bet. Yeah, well, that was actually one of the things I was going to ask was what's been the biggest challenge that you've had competing solo and flying around the country?
Yeah, so I think that would be it. Like losing your gear would be one, because you've got such tight turnarounds. Like flying in on a Friday and starting a competition on the Saturday, 10 o'clock the next day is when you've got your site inspections. So you have to have everything up and running. So you're really relying on other people that sometimes you haven't met before to bring your gear, and you've got your inspections. And if you don't have the gear, then you can't compete type thing. So it does get a little bit nerve-wracking in that sense. But everyone's come to the party, and everyone's been great like that. If you forget something, they've always been keen to lend you whatever it might be to get you through.
Yeah, very nice. That is one of the things I do love about the barbecue scene.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned Bangalore there before. That's one of my local competitions. What year was that?
That was the last one they had. I actually won the pickle competition that year. So that was just as we started the pickles. I remember that now. It was the last year. So that was 2000 it must have been 18, I think.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
The year after so 2018. So I came 4th overall in that one with first place brisket at that one. So I was pretty proud. That was my first time competing solo, so I was pretty proud of that one.
Yeah, well done. That was a very cold competition from memory. I remember that one.
The motorhome was good though. Nice and warm in there.
I was sleeping in the back of my truck and I woke up and there was condensation dripping down the insides of the windows of the truck just from my breath inside the truck overnight.
Yeah.
It was really super cold. All right, well, that's probably a good point now to start wrapping this up. So I'm going to throw the studio open to you now. Give some shout-outs to whoever you want to give shout-outs to. Give some thanks, give some praise. And, of course, tell everybody where they can track you down on the social media.
Yeah, definitely. So you can head over to stagco.com.au. So we've got our online store there, which you can pick up any of our products. You can also inquire about if you want your own rub. We've got all the information there that you need to do to bring out your own rub with us. Couple of shout outs from a Bison BBQ side of things. So our major sponsor being Kelly's Meats, obviously being a new team, and it's formed very, very quickly. So we haven't had no one knowing us. We didn't have many sponsors at the start, but Kelly's Meats has been amazing to get behind us and give us everything that we needed, along with Sher Wagyu. So they've been great. And actually just picked up partnership recently with Barbecue Spits and Rotisseries as well. So they're local. They're literally 5 minutes away from my house. But, great supporters of the barbecue scene and us. And, looking forward to 2020. I probably can't say 2020 anymore. It'll be 2021 barbecue season with all of them and hopefully a few more.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. You got some great backers there. Really good. Now, you mentioned Kelly's Meats there before, which just sort of triggered something in my mind. I saw you drinking a VBA beer there, Victorian Barbecue Alliance beer. What's happening there?
So they just had a bit of a collab with their local brewery down Gippsland Way and been able to put their own labels on it. And they've got a license to be able to sell 4-pack at a time. So he just, sells a 4-pack at a time and everyone gets in and supports him. And I think he's only had it a couple of weeks. He's almost sold out of his first batch. Everyone's gone nuts for it at the moment, which is great. Great to see everyone getting behind him.
That's so cool. It's like a butcher branded beer. It's very cool.
Yeah.
All righty, man. Well, look, I'm going to say thanks very much for taking time to come on the show. I really appreciate it. I have seen your partner and your son sort of moving in and out in the back screen there. So I'm guessing you're missing out on storybook time.
Yeah,
so I'm going to say thanks very much and best of luck with everything that you're doing.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on the show.
And there you have it, family. How good was that? That was Scott Bothe from Stagg Co, from Bison BBQ, and so much more stuff. He's doing a lot of work with a lot of the big names in the barbecue scene here, and a lot of what he's doing is really helping elevate the whole scene as a whole. So it's been great to have him on the show and great to hear his story. And if you are thinking about getting into competitions and you're sort of teetering on the edge, you haven't really got a team together, make sure you go back and listen again to that final segment there. There's some great tips there for getting out there and competing solo. And if you are out there and you do have some recipe ideas for some rubs and things, make sure you do contact Scott there at Stagg Co and get the lowdown on what you can do to get your brand out there and get your rubs into the shops. 100 different locations around the country. That is a great opportunity there. Alrighty, so if you've been enjoying this episode of the show, if you're watching on Facebook, please give us a like and a share. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a subscribe and hit that little notification bell. Oh, and the thumbs up. Give us a thumbs up as well. We love the thumbs up. And if you're watching on Instagram, on IGTV, give us one of those cute little hearts and a follow. And if you're listening on a podcasting app, do give us a 5-star rating and review. We do appreciate it. And today's shout out goes to Peg426 for their 5-star review. Thank you very much, Peg426. That was greatly appreciated and it really made my day. And so that's all the time that we do have for today's show. So until next time, take care of each other and keep on queuing.
Thanks for listening to the Smoking Hot Confessions podcast. Head on over to smokinghotconfessions.com for recipes, tips, and Ben's own confessions.